What's up, guys? So today I'm trying to really figure out how to frame all this, and I'm going to just kind of shoot from the hip a little bit. So when I thought things were finally calming down on social media and the shenanigans were slowing down, in steps a corporate crazy stooge that wants to completely flip the gaming industry on its head. And he is at this point not only wanting to pretty much be predatory towards consumers, but also be predatory against the developers that create the games we all know and love. And to make it even more trashy, this is going to possibly cause a lot of games to be delayed and also disappear by the end of the year. So definitely please listen closely, because you are going to start investing in some of these games if you want them to at least be in your library, because there is some developers that are going to possibly pull their games off of the digital marketplaces, and it's going to get very crazy with certain game titles out there, considering a lot of people no longer want anything to do with the game engine that this individual is in control of. So I am absolutely sure that you have not been living under a rock and you are not aware of the fact that the Unity game engine has changed its terms of service and agreements on its developers, and they are now going to start charging runtime installation fees on their developers that can run anywhere from like as low as a couple cents if you have some of the paid versions and you participate in all the ad campaign programs on Unity, or you can pay up to 20 cents if you choose to not do any of that and you don't even pay for Unity. And that's where it could get absolutely pricey, and some developers are even worried that these decisions are going to put them under. But let's first start with the individual who made this decision, Mr. John Riccitiello. Now, this isn't the first time this individual has been in the spotlight of controversy. Yeah, his first roundabout was when he was the CEO over at EA, and he was pitching to a board of investors the idea of selling bullets to first-person shooter players, and not just selling them to them just randomly, choosing a targeted time when the consumer would be at a point of what he referred to as not being price sensitive. His whole example was, imagine a player 6 hours into a very good game of Battlefield and his clip is empty, and we give them that little pop-up, would you like to reload your gun for $1? And he explained that systems like this are a great model for making money in the gaming industry. Kind of scary thought. Like, I'm not against microtransactions when they are done well and they are not intrusive, but this dude is flat out in love with creating predatory microtransactions. But his love for microtransactions and ads doesn't stop there. A lot of people actually don't know, because a lot of developers choose to not use this portion of the Unity engine, but there is actually a large tool set in the Unity engine for creating ads, marketplaces, microtransactions, and a whole plethora of other revenue generating systems that can basically easily be put into a game, because Mr. Riccitiello wants these developers to use these systems so he can kind of get a percentage of that revenue because they helped facilitate their creation. And to make it even crazier, Mr. Riccitiello last year was documented, quoted in saying that the developers that don't use these tools and shun away from microtransactions are brilliant and fucking idiots. And no, I'm not making up the F word on that, because he even doubled down on the statement, and he said that these types of developers are some of the biggest fucking idiots. Mr. Riccitiello is so not liked in the gaming development community that the developer Suda51 of No More Heroes, because of Mr. Riccitiello's corporate interference in the development of No More Heroes, well, Mr. Riccitiello was put in as the main villain in No More Heroes, which the main villain in that game shares his last name. So it was like a bittersweet FU to Mr. Riccitiello from the developer Suda51. Now, before the price increase or the whole fee thing that is happening to Unity took place the other day, Mr. Riccitiello also laid off over 600 employees over at Unity in what was called a pursuit of long-term profitability. And he has also increased the price for not only the Unity Pro package, but also the Unity Enterprise package. So he has been steadily trying to finagle more sources of revenue from Unity as a whole. This gentleman goes way beyond the concept of treating people like walking ATMs. He treats people like they are nothing more than a bag of money that he just has to figure out how to get into them, with absolutely no respect for the process involved. He sees consumers and developers as nothing more than obstacles to his money. Now, what makes this situation with the Unity engine so bad is actually how many developers have been crafting very, very decent games over the years through this engine, and a lot of these games actually don't have microtransactions, and if they do, they're very unintrusive. But obviously, now it looks like this is all going to change because of the install fees. And a lot of developers are worried that these fees are not only going to create a financial hardship on the developers that already don't make a whole lot of money to begin with, but also it seems that the Unity company is going to have some kind of black box proprietary means of knowing how this game is installed, and they are going to just charge developers these fees by whatever metric that they use internally. The developer actually has no way of knowing how this metric works. It is just simply the Unity company going, hey, just trust us, we will charge you correctly. Even though Mr. Riccatiello has shown that he cannot be trusted, he is asking developers to just trust the process when they get the bill. Very scary concept if you really think about it. Now, because of this install fee, this has a lot of developers now rethinking the plans on how to disseminate games if they're on Unity, because it questions like, how do we do a free-to-play game? How do we do game giveaways? How do we do demos? Because does a demo qualify as a download? It opens Pandora's box to a plethora of problems that the developer can be kind of responsible for and on the hook for the bill. And it gets even more stupider because now this seems like it's also an attack on game subscription services. Now, this is where I commend everybody to get together. I don't care what team you're on, Team PC, Team Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation. Everybody really needs to get together and support these developers with the decisions, the hard decisions that they are about to make. Because there is a long list of developers now that have all voiced their concerns with what's about to happen, and they are all getting ready to pull out of using the Unity engine. So already on social media, we've seen Aggro Crab Games, Inner Sloth, Massive Monster, Landfall, Thomas Seller from the Falconeer, Matt Wood, and other developers all pretty much go on social media and express their disdain and the fact that they are going to stop using the Unity engine. Everybody's even saying like even if they roll back this decision, the damage is already done, and these developers at this point no longer trust Unity. And that is where a lot of them are either going to abandon the projects that they're already working on. They're going to take the time to delay the game and port it over to a new engine. And in some cases, this is where it's going to get scary for everybody. So please listen close to this one. Massive Monster, the developer of Cult of the Lamb, even came out and said, buy Cult of the Lamb before January 1st because they will stop selling the game. I don't know how serious of a statement that is. I don't know if it's a blind threat just to get Unity's attention. But yes, these developers are already looking into legal recourse, and these developers are also looking for exit strategies to basically make sure that they are not on the hook for a lot of money. One developer already came out and said that he basically was paid by Epic Games to put his game in the Epic Game Store for free. And the money that he got from Epic Games is 3 times less than the money that he is going to be charged as this fee. This is going to cause a lot of developers to pretty much delist their game. And that is a big concern. Now, not only is delisting the game a big concern, because yes, that's going to be less games available to you, and it's also going to be less games that appear in Game Pass and other subscription services, but it seems like Mr. Riccatiello is on a warpath to get money from these subscription services as well, because in the terms of service and agreement, he expresses that if a developer puts their game into a subscription service, the company responsible for that subscription service owes them the fee as well. The developer doesn't owe the fee for those downloads, but it's like if somebody puts their game in Game Pass, Microsoft now owes Unity 20 cents or whatever's going on, whatever they have negotiated with Unity. But do we really see companies like Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft just like, oh yeah, no problem, just charge us the money? No, this is going to affect now how these companies put games into their subscription services, especially Sony and Microsoft. And when they're making these deals now to have a game put in their subscription service, they now have to ask the question, hey, what engine was this game built on? Because if it's on Unity, we don't want it in the service. So this means now any game that is on Unity is probably not going to be part of a subscription service. And that's, again, just less content for us to be able to consume. And this is all because of one person that seems to just be hell-bent on corporate greed. Like, Mr. Riccatiello is so shady that a few weeks before the announcement of all these price raises, him and a couple other of the shareholders over at Unity sold off a large amount of stock. And guess what? When this announcement was made, Unity stock tanked. That's extremely shady. That means you knew exactly what was going to happen and you didn't care. So guys, please keep your ears peeled on this situation and definitely keep it locked in here on this channel. As information becomes available, I will definitely share it with you. But there is a large amount of developers out there that are going to need our support and understanding during this transition about getting away from the Unity engine. And we are also going to have to probably keep our eyes peeled for deals on games that we want to have part of our library if they potentially disappear. We're talking games like Among Us, Cult of the Lamb, Cuphead, a very big popular game, Hollow Knight, Ori, both Ori's Will of the Wisps and Blind Forest. There is a large amount of games out there that have been made on the Unity engine. There is a large amount of developers out there that are all on the hook from the Unity engine. And definitely at this point in time, all of us gamers need to really cooperate for once in this whole crazy ass console war and really support these developers and really put the middle finger up to companies like this that just go way beyond the concept of just trying to make a buck and flat out are just like a predator in the night, a drug dealer preying on an addict, trying to make money by any means necessary with absolutely no respect for how they do it. So guys, I just want to close out with saying, if you enjoyed today's video, please like, subscribe, comment down below, all that fun stuff that YouTube likes to see to help me grow. Also, again, please comment down below. I'm curious on what you feel about this situation and also what you kind of plan to do if by some chance some of these games really start disappearing. Are we all going to start trying to bulk up our digital libraries, or are we just not going to care and just let some of these games disappear into the night? But as always, I also have to ask you, please check out the end card on the video here, watch my latest video, explore my channel, and at the end of the day, remember that the console war shenanigans are absolute dogma. Just be sure to play the games you love on the platform you prefer, no matter what anybody says. Thank you for watching. I am Centurion 1307, and I hope to see you next time.